So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben. All right, guys, well, we've tried the new show for a number of episodes, and the downloads have spoken. You guys love this show. Wow, I am so honored that we can do an engaging and fun and current show that agents from all over the world are listening to and learning from about what's happening in our beloved real estate industry. So we're going to keep it up. We're excited, and welcome to today's State of the Market.
Hey, what's up, Rockstar Nation? Hey, you may have some sound differences today, and I apologize for that. I had a dilemma at my house where I had HVAC company have to come in unexpectedly this morning and started jacking up my floors and ceilings, and I had to leave, and I'm at Starbucks. It's kind of noisy, but the show must go on, and there was some good stuff that I needed to talk about today. So Kevin Kaufman is out today, and his business partner and a realtor, well-known realtor, Mr. Nalli Williams, is my co-host. Welcome to State of the Market, Nalli.
Hey, thank you, Pat. Glad to be here, man.
Hey, why don't you tell everybody a little about yourself, Nalli, so they get to know you better?
I'm a speaker, trainer, author. I love to teach real estate agents how to be more successful and how to find their true passion in the craft of real estate. I took over 1,000 listings my first 10 years after getting into the business. And now I teach, train, coach, and give back like you. I'm a little Hyben Jr.
Yes, indeed. And Nalli is the ultimate high-eye real estate agent. Everybody knows Nalli, one of the only black guys that wears a cowboy hat in the middle of Boston, New York City, some of these East Coast areas where they're like, who is this guy? So anyways, you can't miss him. I love the guy. And let's get into some news. Nalli, listen, so a lot of drama is going on online about this lawsuit with National Association of Realtors. So I want to read you a headline, and this headline says it all. And this is off of Inman. It says, "What the bombshell buyer side lawsuit means for realtors." What the bombshell buyer side lawsuit means for realtors. Basically what happened is on March 6th, which was a week ago or less, a class action lawsuit was filed. And what a class action lawsuit is, Nalli, is simply, a bunch of individuals that are suing on behalf of tons of other individuals. And this one happens to be out of Illinois, right? And it includes, get this, these individuals include every person who sold a house in the MLS with these companies, and I'm going to read it here. All right, this is what's covered in it, right? Bright MLS, which includes Baltimore, all of Maryland, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Richmond, Virginia, Washington, D.C., all of Washington, D.C., Florida Regional MLS, which is Tampa, Orlando, Sarasota, 5 more MLSs in the Midwest, 6 MLSs in the Southwest, 3 MLSs in the Mountain West, 4 MLSs in the Southeast. And basically there's so many MLSs out there, and it looks like they include about 20. How many MLSs are there? Do you know?
I was trying to look that up. I mean, we know the MLS system came around in the late 1800s, but as far as how many there are, it's a little bit elusive. We'll have to keep looking at that. We know there's 1.3 million members of the National Association, and there really are, from what I've looked at in the past, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of MLS systems out there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones. So anyway, so basically what they did is they took some of the big ones, right? Some of the largest MLSs in the country with hundreds of thousands of agents. And when you have hundreds of thousands of agents, it means millions and millions of transactions. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. We're talking millions of transactions. Then they went on to name, right, NAR first and foremost, the National Association of Realtors, right, which, like you said, oversees 1.3 million agents. Then you've got Reality, right?
Yeah.
You know, Reality.
Mm-hmm.
Home
Big
Services of America, Remax, and Keller Williams. Those four.
Wow.
The four largest real estate brokerages, you know, pretty much out there, right? Those four. Reality, Home Services of America, Remax, and KW. So they're going beyond these MLSs, and they're just hitting these brands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're suing them for antitrust. And where antitrust is involved, and, you know, anybody, you know, certainly you've had enough classes on antitrust that hopefully you know what the hell it is, but it basically, you know, pertains to, you know, is the consumer being dealt with fairly and getting a deal that you should get in a capitalist society, right, where you have fair competition, right, where you have all of your options. And so the theory behind this lawsuit is this, and I'm going to try to break this down simply so everybody can kind of grasp it. And you can tell me, Nalli, after I do this, whether you agree with this lawsuit or disagree, okay?
Gotcha.
All right, so number one, the MLS is required, right, for any brokerage who wants to be in business. Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The MLS is controlled by local associations, right? So you got to go to your local association to get MLS.
Right. If you're a realtor, yeah.
If you're a realtor, okay. Now, so with the MLS being controlled by the local associations, we know that the local associations have to abide by NAR's rules and policies. Okay. Now, one of the rules and policies is something, and you might not even know this, is something called the Buyer Broker Commission Rule. You ever heard of it?
I have not.
Basically, the Buyer Broker Commission Rule, which NAR enforces, okay, says the seller must pay the Buyer Broker Commission. And so they're saying that the interaction between, number one, National Associations of Realtors, number two, the local associations, and number three, the local MLSs, along with the brokers I mentioned, constitute a conspiracy. So, and that's the key word, conspiracy, right? What they need to prove to a jury, because this will be a jury thing, I guarantee it, you know, or I can't imagine how a judge is going to rule on this ahead of time, but it's going to, you know, God forbid if you get picked for this sucker, but a coordinated action, right? They need to prove a coordinated action. So they need to prove that on some level at some time in history, and it still runs today, that these four defendants, the NAR, your local association, and your local MLS, and KW, Remax, Reality, and whoever the fourth one was, Home Services of America, conspired to have the buyer broker agreement, the buyer broker commission paid by the seller, and that has kept the commissions high, which then harms home sellers. And the reason it harms home sellers is because essentially what they're saying, and I'm going to dumb it down, all along, sellers have been paying too much commission. Like, sellers do not know that they're allowed to take a listing commission and co-op out zero. There's actually a button on a lot of these, if not all of these MLSs, that it stands for N, which stands for negotiable, which means if you want to put a commission in as negotiable, which means you guys figure it out with your buyer agent, or we don't, you know, you put it into the offer and we'll pay it maybe, that nobody knows about and nobody uses, And all these guys have conspired to, or it doesn't exist at all in the MLS, right? So all of these people have conspired to keep the commissions double what they really are, right? The commission should be between the seller and the agent. This is the commission. This is what you pay me. Everything else is up to, it's up to the market. And they're out for blood, man. They think that they're going to win.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nalli Williams? What is your opinion on this controversial subject, sir?
Well, I will tell you, Pat Hyben, you really articulated that very well. You broke it down very, very well. And I can actually see from the perspective of how you broke it down, the argument from both sides. In Texas, speaking on where I am, it's very clear. I'll speak to my side, and then I'll speak to the seller side for a moment, because I think as realtors, it's very difficult for us to put ourselves in the seller's shoes. 96% of my business has always been sellers, working with sellers, and so from the seller's perspective, I definitely can see the point that they're making. It's without a doubt, especially if they're in the dark on how this money, the money trail. If they don't know how this money spreads out, that's an issue. Now, what I always explain to my sellers before we get into that, remember the big antitrust thing that came against the National Association originally was price fixing. Okay, so in reality, this is just a back door or a side door to the same issue. Price fixing was that issue that said, and they did get slapped on that one, that we basically conspired to set commission rates at an even, let's just arbitrarily say 6%. And that was apparently, you'll have to do the research on that to see how that was ruled out. But there definitely were some issues there with the previous antitrust thing that happened years and years ago. Now, this one is pretty much part and parcel to that, let's face it, it comes back to the commission issue.
All right, guys, why waste thousands of dollars and countless hours on training that never touches on what matters most? How to make more money in real estate. For just $7, you can start a 1-week trial at Rebus University today. And what that means is $13,000 worth of real estate courses on how to make more commissions will be available to you for $1 a day. It's all you can eat. Go in there and take them all if you can. Only $7. To start your 7-day all-access free trial, go to futureofrealestatetraining.com. These courses are guaranteed to get you more listings, more leads, and more commissions. Futureofrealestatetraining.com, or just text the word trial to 444-999. That's TRIAL to 444-999.
It comes back to the consumer.
Yeah.
Can you prove that consumers getting screwed? Like in the
Right.
one you're talking about, the consumer got screwed because a bunch of guys got together,
Right.
guys and girls got
Back
together.
room. Yeah.
We're going to keep our commission here. Don't give the consumer a deal.
Right.
And they got busted. Right.
It was
And
back room. Right.
And they lost.
Yeah.
And so what they're saying here, and it's going to be much more difficult to prove because it's not like in a room where you can video it, or you can say this happened at the Hilton Garden Inn on this date.
Yeah.
They can say these guys conspired though somehow. And so here's the thing. I don't think they'd be going after it unless they had some sort of proof.
Something. Yeah.
And it's probably, whatever the proof is probably in writing. Like, hey, and in writing is this quote unquote buyer broker clause in NAR. And they're saying that NAR should never have said this, that NAR should have said, talk to your seller like a third grader can understand. let them pick what they want.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, man, I've listed thousands and thousands of houses, and you know, I can certainly say that there were sellers that I listed their house that had no clue what the co-op commission was.
Right.
They had no clue. You know what I mean? All they cared about was, this is what it was going to cost me, and this is my net, right? And I think that occurs still today, and I know it occurs today. As a matter of fact, there was a survey that I read that 45% of all sellers didn't even know what the word co-op commission was. Didn't even know what the amount of money that another agent was getting paid.
Yeah.
Right. And it boils down to really at a listing appointment, how much time is spent by the agent explaining, you know, this is my commission. This is what you're going to give to the other guy.
Yeah. And
do you want to offer this? Do you want to offer this? Or do you want to offer nothing for 30 days and see what happens? Guarantee you that's not happening. Right. And that's what they're saying. So let me ask you, because you're still active agent.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend going over, not commission, Nalli, not commission, co-op commission, co-op commission?
Yeah. So I have a very simple exercise that I do, and I view it differently than some might articulate. And I actually teach it this way. So I actually have an exercise where I just take out 6 business cards, and I say, this is, if for example, I'm charging 6% on that one, might be 7. But if it's a 6, I'll take out 6 business cards, and I'll just put the, the 3 business cards aside and say, this is my fee. I explained to them that the full amount is my commission. That's what I'm charging. Now I'm going to take 50% of my fee and pay it out to a cooperating broker who brings me a buyer for the property. So I don't look at it as 2 separate things. I look at it as, they're paying me X and I'm using my money. At that point, it becomes, when I've earned the money, it becomes mine. So when I've sold the property, when I've contractually, I'm due my money when they agree on a particular offer. Once they sign and agree, I've earned my commission. But it's my commission. So I look at it as completely, that's my commission. Now, I don't look at it as they're doing something with their money.
Yeah, but it's not your commission. It's the other agents. Like your commission is half that.
No, my commission is the full amount. Like if you look at the Texas agreement, and it might just be a thing between different listing agreements. I can read our agreement upside down, backwards, sideways. I made it a point to actually memorize our Texas agreement before I even, within my first 2 or 3 months in the business.
So you spend time. So if your sellers were to take a survey that would say, do you know what your co-op commission is? They would pass that test?
Absolutely. And it's on my video too. Every one of them has to watch my video before they list with me. And I explain it there as well. It's very, very detailed. It even has animated GIFs where they can see the money move around. Like they'll see 3% go over here and they'll see 3% go over there. I mean, it's very, very clear with my sellers.
Okay, so let's walk this through. This is fun. Okay, so how did you learn that trick about, the commission? That where you take out 6 business cards and you say, these number of business cards are mine and these number of business cards are the other agents. Where did you learn that?
Well, it goes back. It's kind of an older trick in the game. I like the way Ben Kinney taught it. Years and years ago, I went to one of his seminars, and he does it with $6 bills. Now, the way I do it is I actually do it on a video. So it actually, like I said, it's animated to where it shows them every single. So it'll take. Okay,
so let me ask you this. So is it possible that you may have learned that at a brokerage?
Absolutely.
Or a brokerage event. Everything you learn at a brokerage.
Yeah. I mean, that's where it comes full circle. Absolutely.
It comes at a brokerage event, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And was that brokerage part of a local MLS?
Absolutely.
And did that local MLS have to abide by NAR's rules and policies?
Yeah. And see, here's where it gets tricky because yes, what I didn't realize was that NAR had that clause. I haven't actually read that, where they're basically making a commandment, or they're commanding that. See, I
haven't read it either, and I haven't read the lawsuit either. So me and you are just talking hypothetically here for a news show. You know what I mean? We're not lawyers. We haven't read it. But on let's just say on the surface, right? Yeah. You learned it at a brokerage or a brokerage's events. Mm-hmm. That brokerage is part of a board. That board abides by NAR policies. Yeah. One of the NAR policies is something called the Buyer Broker Commission Rule, the BBCR. Yeah. And basically, and this is, again, according to the lawsuit, and I haven't read the BBCR, but it says the BBCR forces sellers to pay for the Buyer Broker Commission. Yeah. And if that's true, then what they're saying is, hey, this is a problem, because the seller should have the option to say, no, mm-hmm. I want, or if they don't say no, should have the option to say, I want to do a co-op commission of $100, or absolutely $2 or anything, pull it out of their butt, and I want to do it for this amount of time. And if it doesn't sell, I'll raise it or I'll lower it or whatever. And they're trying to say, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I don't understand this, but they're trying to say, hey, this whole thing, these years and years of keeping sellers potentially, maybe, right, in the dark about what they're allowed and not allowed to do, is worth an antitrust lawsuit. Now, here's the thing. Like at the brokerage, I can remember being at brokerages where, I would bring a listing in and the office manager would say, the co-op must be this percent. You know what I mean? And the reason that they would say that is because they didn't want the backlash. Like if I was gonna do a really low co-op, or co-op lower than industry standard, then agents were going to start mailing nasty letters. And I actually did this once. I dropped my co-op fee on a listing. Yeah. And an agent from a competing office printed it out, circled it, put a big X to it, and put FUCKYOU right on it in like bold red letters, with like 12 explanation points, and mailed it to me.
Plenty of people make a decent living selling real estate, but how many manage to make millions, to become a millionaire? Imagine how much more profitable your business would be if you had the chance to learn from someone who actually made their millions selling real estate. Rebus University instructors know what it takes to build a highly successful, highly lucrative real estate business because they've done exactly that. These self-made real estate millionaires spent years in the trenches, identifying exactly what works in today's markets. And that's exactly what they teach. Right now, we're running a 7-day trial on Rebus University's All Access package. For just $7, you can get access to every course. Every millionaire real estate instructor, there's over 40 of them. 40 millionaire real estate instructors that Rebus University has to offer. You have access to all of them. To start your 7-day free trial for only $7, go to futureofrealestatetraining.com. That's futureofrealestatetraining.com, or text trial, TRIAL, to 444-999. That's trial to 444-999. Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode.
Wow. You know, I had that happen to me and as well. And it was not quite that bad, but it was close. And man, social media would have been a great thing for that, huh? Tag that person on his own. I mean, can you imagine?
Well, here's the thing. Nowadays,
That's
nowadays
hate
that
mail.
would nowadays that would be like pretty
That's
blatant antitrust, I think, right? I mean, not
well,
antitrust,
that's
like that's if I was scared of that agent, let's say it was a brand new agent
yeah.
and that agent did that and they were a big agent in the market, I could say, I was bullied into
Right.
charging, a certain co-op or offering a certain co-op, and
Right.
thereby that could be a subtle form of antitrust.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, dude. I don't make these decisions,
Okay,
but
so
it's fascinating.
here's what gives me the rub on that whole thing. And you've got to go state to state's going to be different. Obviously, in Texas, we have promulgated forms that were promulgated by attorneys. I don't know what they look like in your state or other states. I've seen some in California, et cetera. But I think that when you look at the listing agreement, the contract, or the listing agreement itself, it's ultra clear that the amount that I'm charging is my fee, and that I'm taking my fee and agreeing to pay part of it to a cooperating broker. Now, what they're saying is, which I also can see the point of their argument, is they're saying that in reality, what's happening is that the seller is paying it, and of course that's what's happening, right? But when you look at the language in the agreement,